Have you ever wondered what makes up a great shoe? I'm Dr. Jody Freedman, a chiropractor, Willowbrook Chiropractic, and today I'm here with Kelsey, a podorthist and the store manager at Kintec Langley. And today we're going to talk about what makes up a great shoe. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
So I'm going to start off with a really general question that I get from my patients all the time. What is the components of a great shoe?
Of course. Well, shoes are very important, of course. They support your entire body. So we do want to make sure that we look at some of the structural features of a shoe. I would say definitely the heel counter is something that we want to pay attention to. Being more strong is going to help control or support the foot better. Structurally, the shoe also, the more it moves or more rings out like a rag, the more that the foot is able to move. So depending on what your pain is or needs, definitely having a stronger structure in through the center of the shoe is important, as well as where the shoe flexes. So the flex point of the shoe we usually determine by just pushing the shoe from the front to the back, and it should bend where the foot bends. So all those components will help support your foot much better.
Excellent. Okay, and that gives a good basis to things, and so we get into a little bit more specifics. Again, the next question I often get from patients is running versus a walking shoe. Like, what's really the difference?
Of course. So running shoes are meant for higher impact activity. So they have a lot better quality cushioning built into the midsole of the shoe. They are absolutely going to be built for more breathability. They will be lighter weight, and they're mainly meant for straight lines. They're not a good option if you're trying to do tennis or pickleball, something side to side. They don't build those for a lot of lateral support. Compared to a walking shoe, however, so if we just look at the difference here, some walking shoes may have mesh, some may have leather. This one has all leather. So having a different material on the top also creates a bit more structure, but it's more so the midsole of the shoe is quite a bit different. So the midsole has a bit more dense foam. It's not meant for high impact activity. So if you're trying to run in this shoe, it's not going to feel very good for shock absorption in comparison to a runner. A walking shoe will feel just generally more structurally supportive, has similar features to some good quality running shoes, but certainly is meant for low impact activities for walking.
Okay, great. And I'm glad you mentioned the lateral stability as well, because I think that's a concern for a lot of people, especially as their pickleball is really popular. I think people are taking their running shoes and trying to use them for that, and then wondering why they're getting a whole bunch of ankle sprains, and it's because the shoe is just not meant to support you from going side to side movements.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So in terms of stability, a shoe, I think one other type of shoe that people are wondering about is a trail runner versus like a hiking shoe, and how that differs from a running shoe.
Of course. So trail running shoes will have kind of that lightweight upper, so still usually a meshy upper. That is still going to help with breathability and obviously comfort for the foot. But trail shoes are built for that uneven surface. So you're going to get a lot more traction on the bottom, a lot better grip, but you'll still have kind of a lightweight kind of mid foam that's great for high impact activity. Okay. So you're going to get a better structural support as well from the upper. So as much as it's meshed or breathable, typically, it is going to have more structural support laterally. Because of those surfaces, they change quite a bit from the road. It's going to give you a lot better support laterally to keep you more stable.
Makes sense. So, so if people are doing a lot more trails and uneven surfaces, then a trail runner would work better for them than just a regular runner.
Exactly. Yes, much better.
And then what about a hiking boot versus a trail runner? What is the differences there?
Sure. So between the two shoes, so this would be a trail runner and this would be more of a hiking shoe. Hikers are going to have a lot more layers typically. Hiking is a lower impact activity. However, you are doing a lot more inclines typically, and you want to have a lot more structural support. The midsole of these shoes is going to be much firmer. You're still going to get the same similar traction, some more in a hiker than a trail shoe, but certainly the upper layering is going to be a lot stiffer and more supportive. You can get kind of the low cut style, or you can get mid or boot style. And definitely there's a lot different varieties of hiking shoes. So there can be kind of lower structure and there can be higher, more stiff structure as well. But much more stiffness to this. So running in this would not be very comfortable in comparison to a trail running shoe.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
And so another concern for patients, so a lot of my patients have orthotics, and they don't necessarily fit that well into some shoes then. So
Common,
you know, where do you usually start with people that have orthotics in terms of choosing a shoe?
Of course. So number one is you want to have a removable footbed. So inside of the shoe, you definitely don't want there to be nothing to come out. You want to create space. So typically what comes with your shoe is more of a liner that just kind of hides a lot of the ugly seaming in the bottom. There's not a lot of structural pieces to this. So of course, taking this out, and then you can put in an orthotic or an over-the-counter insole, whatever you need or wear. So one of these guys can definitely just replace kind of the same thickness of what you take out. The thicker your orthotic is, the more depth you're going to need in the shoe. So you typically, sorry, this might be the wrong size, but you typically want to kind of look at what you're taking out to know if you have enough space to have the foot still fit the same in the shoe.
Absolutely. And I think I'm often sort of putting my finger at the back of the shoe and seeing basically, you know, how deep that heel cup is. Then
Exactly.
Is that usually a common tool you're looking at for shoes?
Totally.
Then?
Yeah. So the depth of the shoe really matters. A lot of people don't look at that when they are shopping for shoes. So the depth, not only in the heel, but also in kind of the mid part of the foot and towards the toes. So the more cushion you have on your orthotic, the more space it's going to take up. So you need to have that depth for sure.
Absolutely. And then the last question I get is, you know, oftentimes people don't necessarily want to be wearing running shoes or such inside.
Of course.
So what kind of options do they have that they can still have support, but maybe it's a little bit more comfortable for them to wear indoors?
For sure. Yeah, the convenience factor of not having to do laces all the time is a nice option.
Yeah.
A lot of people during the summer and or just don't like to wear socks. Certainly we can look at sandal options.
For sure.
So we carry a lot of options that have either arch support built in. A sandal is often not something you can easily get an orthotic into. So having, you know, pre-made arch support built in, either a slide version or a flip-flop is a nice option. And then we also carry things like slippers, or look for slippers with removable footbeds, either with a back or not. Then you can actually get your custom orthotic in it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for answering our questions today. They're very helpful for my patients.
Oh, good.
And thank you for having me at the store.
My pleasure. Yeah, you're welcome.
Again, if you have any more shoe questions, feel free to ask myself, Dr. Jody Freedman, or Dr. Robin Armstrong. We're always happy to help.